He bought the statue before I was born. It was a heavy piece of home decor. As I grew older, my little sister and I had chores, and one of my chores was to polish the bust every Saturday. Our living room was like a showcase area. We were never allowed to be in there unless we were having company. Otherwise, that room was off limits, unless I was dusting. I can't quite understand what changed, but I can certainly tell you that my baby sister and I didn't like it. No matter where you were in the living room, it always looked like it was staring at you. And it was heavy, too. The trouble started one summer night. My sister and I shared a room, and it was ridiculously hot. The fan wasn't doing anything to cool us off. It was difficult for me to fall asleep, unlike my sister. She seemed unaffected by the heat, even though she was sweating. Sometime during the night, my mother came into our room and suggested we go camp out in the living room, since it had large windows and a lot cooler in there. My mind immediately went to the Nefertiti head in there, and I quickly said, no. She wasn't going to take no for an answer. She told me to wake my little sister up while she fixed a comfortable pallet on the floor for us. The Nefertiti head looked harmless enough when Mama was in the room, but once she went to her room, it took on another feel. All the windows in the living room were open as the rain came down fierce and hard. There was a nice breeze that came in, but I was too scared to fall asleep. My sister, on the other hand, popped her thumb into her mouth and grabbed my hand as she drifted off. I looked up at the statue sitting on the console radio, waiting for something to happen. Nothing did. Not at first. There was nothing left to do but snuggle up to my baby sister and close my eyes. Maybe if I pretended to be asleep, that eerie feeling growing in the pit of my stomach would go away. And just when I thought I would sleep, I nearly jumped to my feet when I heard a thunderclap so loud, car alarms went off in the distance. My heart was pounding. Thankfully, it woke my sister up too. We stared at one another as the rain fell. Then we heard it. We both knew what it was. It was the Nefertiti head. We talked about it before. We already knew there was something crazy about that statue. We just couldn't figure out what it was until we heard it whispering to us. It almost sounded like it was calling out our names. I wanted to tell my parents about it, but they wouldn't believe me. So we kept it to ourselves. All we could do was listen to it, taunt us throughout the night. It was so bad that my dad shouted to us from his bedroom, "It's late. You two ought to go to sleep." But the whispering continued. My father wasn't having any of what he thought we were doing. He got out of bed and stood at the living room door staring down at us. I wondered if he heard it too. He must have. Because he turned on the light to look at us. He looked back. I wasn't sure I could even move, but the looks on our faces must have been enough for him to say, "Come on, girls." And we slept between our parents. I was so thankful I felt safe now. The rain came down in buckets, but even through all the thunder, we could hear it whispering. Just before I drifted off to sleep, my father asked my mother, "Maureen, do you hear that?" My mother answered him back, "Mm-hmm." The next morning, it was still raining, and my parents left my sister and I in bed. I was curious, and I wanted to see where they were. They were both in the living room, tidying up, and the Nefertiti head was gone.